Well, we're here at Goodfellow Air Force Base. I'm with my good friend, Congressman Ken Calvert from California, who sits on the Appropriations Committee for Defense Matters. We've been going through a tour of the base. This is not the first time that Congressman Calvert has been to Goodfellow, but when you think about the world that we live in, how dangerous it is, there's a war going on in Europe with Ukraine being invaded by Russia. We have all sorts of unrest that has happened in the Middle East. Just in the past 24 to 48 hours, there's been more activity in Israel, more attacks that have happened at the behest of the Iranian terror chaos machine. And then you think about what's happening in China. We're very proud of what Colonel McGinnis and Goodfellow do every single day to train thousands of airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marines, guardians, and military personnel who go out into the world upon graduation to keep us safe. In fact, just this summer, I put on the uniform as a colonel in the United States Air Force Reserve, and during my time wearing the uniform, I met dozens of Goodfellow graduates who are now working as professionals in the intelligence business, who are abroad, keeping us safe, keeping our country informed of the threats. And when you think about what this mission means to this community and what the community means to the base, I can't think of a better partnership. That's what we've been talking about today. And it really is an honor to go through the base, to see what these men and women are doing, but also to understand that this base has needs. And we have needs when it comes to where the airmen and the soldiers sleep. Building a new dorm has been something that we have been working on for several years now. We went through some of the training facilities, and they need updating. We need to refocus, and this comes to the point where the Department of Defense, the Secretary, the President, they need to focus on lethality, on training men and women who are ready to go at a moment's notice. The distractions that we've seen for the last 3.5 to 4 years, we can't deal with those anymore. We have to get back to business, keep our eye on the ball, and prioritize what it means to go into this world to prepare for what we hope is not a conflict, but to always be prepared. And I think that the best defense is a good offense, to have a deterring force, because quite frankly, I don't think our enemies are deterred right now from our policy. So I want to turn it over to my good friend Ken Calvert for your reaction this morning.
Well, thank you, August, and thank you for your service both in the United States Air Force and now in the House of Representatives. He's doing a great job in advocating for his congressional district, and especially here at this Air Force Base, Goodfellow Air Force Base. What I learned today, and I've been here before, is that yes, a lot of the buildings here need some love, and we need to build some new facilities, because the functions here are extremely important. Intelligence keeps us out of wars, and that's important. We don't want to go to war, but if we do go to war, we want to have the best intelligence we possibly can have, and this is where these men and women are trained in intelligence we desperately need, all the forces. So this base is extremely important to the United States, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I had the opportunity to speak to the folks that work here, and look forward to working with August as we go back to Washington to make sure you get the resources you need to keep this base operating in tip-top shape.
Well, thank you. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
How are you all staying focused on the business that you both spoke about during an election year and an election cycle, the tail end of it?
It's a great question. And I think that's really where the leadership from Congressman Calvert on the Appropriations Committee comes in. That's focusing the resources, taxpayer monies, to the things that keep our country safe. That's the most important thing we do as a nation. It's constitutional basis. That is a foundation of what our government provides, a service that our government provides every single citizen.
Well, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We got a job to do. Obviously, campaigning is part of our job, is to keep it. But the job that the taxpayers pay us for is to make sure day to day that we work for the United States, and that's what we do.
What are some of the updates, and what resources are y'all looking at trying to send this way?
You know, as I mentioned, the dorm facility where our airmen, soldiers sleep every single night, they're in disrepair. This is not uncommon across the United States at many bases, but right here where we're literally training thousands of military personnel every single year, we want these airmen in a very technical career field, by the way, one that requires a ton of studying, getting into the books. You know, you have your classroom time during the day, but then at night, these military professionals are coming back and they're studying, and they need a place where they can be safe at night to sleep, where they're comfortable and they can get a good night's rest, but where also they have the ability to then study and augment what they've learned during the day. So that's been something we're working on. And then during the day, as they train, the facilities that they're training in, which require a tremendous amount of classified workspace, to be able to protect classified information takes an added layer to a building, which requires resources. That is what we focused on today. Those two types of buildings is what Goodfellow needs to get into that 21st century approach to warfare.
What I learned too, it's great that this new dorm will be able to handle 400 people. Will be under construction in 2026. So we see light at the end of the tunnel on that project. But obviously, there's training facilities here that need to be replaced with newer and modern facilities.
One of my questions was, how big of a role does Goodfellow Air Force Base play when it comes to defense, and how important is it that it stays open during, despite everything that's going on?
This is the singular most important base to intelligence in the United States military. Over 300,000 military personnel in the business of intel have been trained at Goodfellow. There is not a single base in the world that doesn't have a graduate of Goodfellow Air Force Base. These professionals not only work in flying squadrons and at the tactical level of war, but they also work in the intelligence community in places like the CIA or the NSA, and they're doing the bidding of our nation to keep us safe, to keep us aware, and to keep us informed of that threat environment. And that threat environment is the most serious threat environment that we have seen, maybe since World War II, but potentially ever. So when it comes to the training of personnel that are going to keep us safe, Goodfellow is foundational in this business. That is why you see so many congressmen coming to visit. You see the Air Force Chief of Staff, the Secretary of the Air Force, and many other agencies coming here to see what we're doing and to make sure that the training is keeping up every single day with what the threat environment presents to us as a real problem for our nation.
My committee funds every part of the intelligence community, both on the military side and on the civilian side. So military intelligence is extremely important as it coordinates with the civilian side. As August mentioned, the CIA, the NSA, NRO, a lot of alphabet soup that's out there. And they need to have an educated workforce. And many people who leave the military go into the civilian intelligence operations, as was mentioned. So we need a highly educated workforce that understands new technologies like artificial intelligence and other tools that are going to be at our disposal in the future.
When I was elected, I made a commitment to all of you to educate my colleagues on what my district does. That includes energy security in the Permian Basin. It includes the farming and ranching that goes on around here. But I think most importantly, it includes what we do at Goodfellow Air Force Base and how the professionals here are keeping our nation safe. I'm proud to say that I've brought many of my colleagues to Goodfellow, but I don't think anybody is more important than Ken Calvert when it comes to understanding, for 30 years, working in Congress to make sure that our military is funded and has the resources to send these men and women to, quite frankly, some very dangerous places. Proud to educate my colleagues, but proud also to showcase the community, what San Angelo does, and I want to say thank you to everybody that lives in the Concho Valley for the partnership that you provide to this base, for the support. When you see somebody walking around San Angelo in uniform, I know that there are a lot of you who are helping those people in churches, in our community. Sometimes I hear stories about airmen walking into a restaurant, and many of you have bought them a dinner or a lunch, or you've had a conversation to ask them where they're from. Thank you for that partnership. Thank you for supporting what we do here at Goodfellow.